Northwest businessman Suliman Carrim is scheduled to appear before the Madlanga Commission this morning after being subpoenaed to testify. Two other witnesses are also expected to appear, including IDAC State Advocate Drushantha Ramsamy and Witness P. Let's now cross to Morning Live's Sakina Kamwendo and SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga for the latest on this. Sakina, good morning.
Thanks, Leanne. And of course, we're going to try and just make sense of the names that you've just mentioned who are meant to appear today, and of course, why we are seeing all of that. Canny, good morning. So, of course, today is the date that was set aside for Suliman Carrim. He's been subpoenaed for today, and this is the umpteenth time, that he's meant to appear before the commission. But of course, it was with that caveat that if he subjects himself to an independent medical practitioner, that perhaps the commission would then absolve him from appearing.
Absolutely. There's a lot of confusion about today's proceedings because of the number of issues that they'll have to deal with first before they continue with the plan for the day. Now, with Northwest businessman Suliman Carrim, we do remember that when he sought that postponement, the evidence leaders gave the request that it should come with the condition that he has to meet certain guidelines and must come with a fixed date. The fixed date was the 14th of August, where they'll ventilate whether or not he met certain deadlines as set in the order by retired Justice Madlanga, who is the chairperson of the Commission, who basically gave him the deadline to basically state what the position would be, I think by the 3rd of August, on this medical report, and to submit the medical report 2 days before the 14th. So by the 12th, they should have some kind of communication or not from Suliman Carrim. It's based on what was given on the 12th of August that we'll get an understanding whether or not he'll be excused today, or will there be consequences that will follow from the conditions that were set on the previous appearance in which he sought a postponement. Now, once that issue is done with, we then have the issue of Drushantha Ramsamy completing her testimony, then of course Witness P.
And of course, just staying with Suliman Carrim for a moment, Suliman Carrim from the very onset didn't seem too keen on giving evidence. At least he wanted to give that evidence in camera. But there's quite a lot that he, of course, has to answer to.
Yes, it's quite crucial to not only understanding how the alleged cartel works, because we do see that the first payment that alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Matala got from that SABC 360, I think, million contract or tender, if we could put it that way, he sends it to Suliman Carrim, and then Suliman Carrim almost serves as an alleged conduit and then sends it to another alleged tender kingpin, Morgan Maumela. So those transactions are important to understand, but the Commission uncovered more evidence that required his assistance, that is in terms of the kind of tenders he enjoys in the Northwest province, which are quite many if we look at the number of businesses that he has and the tenders that he enjoys from that particular province. There was difficulty in getting that particular information. There's also transactions or alleged suspicious transactions, let's put it that way, in his own alleged business dealings that the Commission has an interest in, because it could speak to the terms of reference insofar as how these alleged criminal cartel syndicates also double up with tenders and the other alleged criminal elements in order to boost whatever they have in terms of their dealings as alleged cartels, which would explain why monies move from different individuals back to the same company, or from one individual back to a third party who you actually don't know how they come about in this scenario. So it was about understanding how the cartels work in that particular context. So whether or not we'll get that information as we head towards that final evidence deadline of the 2nd of October is something that hangs in the balance, because he's had a number of postponements due to health challenges, and if the health challenges persist, there could be a scenario where you continue, or rather close off, this particular commission without actually hearing on that particular evidence that Charles Glisson has an interest in, because he believes that it speaks directly to the terms of reference of the Madlanga Commission.
And there was also the hundreds of millions of rands from municipalities in the Northwest province that he was also meant to speak to.
Yes, those are the tenders that Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Matthew Charles had picked up on in terms of the transactions. And that's what sparked that exchange. Remember that heated moment between Suliman Carrim's lawyers, the chairperson as well, because they had been given this information the night before, and they felt that the questions were unlawful at that stage because it didn't form part of the terms of reference. But Charles argued that it did because it spoke to the kind of network or how it operates in terms of the movement of money and how alleged tender funds work in these alleged cartel syndicates that double up not only with security companies but also with alleged criminal elements, which include the movement of illicit drugs. So it was a lot to explore in that regard, and following that discovery, that is when I think we haven't seen Suliman Carrim since that particular date, nor has the information been forthcoming. So we'll find out if actually the details that they needed, the transactions, were actually sent to the Commission, and whether or not a medical report has been provided that is acceptable to the Commission. If not, then you could expect consequences to follow today, or they'll hold up the excuse, or rather excuse him from the Commission's hearings for at least today, and you can expect another date to be set for him to return.
And of course, the evidence against Suliman Carrim, as was read into the record by Advocate Matthew Chaskelson, SC, quite damning. So at 9:30 a.m., we will find out exactly where that situation is and what the Commission intends to do. But of course, when we come back after 8, we'll have analysis at 7:40 about what we've heard so far this week. But after 8, Canny will be back, and we'll take a look back at some of what we've heard at the Commission this week.